Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us once again. Let's start first with the series of drone incursions that we have seen into EU and NATO member states. What do you make of that phenomenon? What is it?
It's a provocation, what we are seeing. We had those incursions not only in Estonia or in Poland, but as well in Czech Republic. We've seen a test recently over Brussels, and Copenhagen airport was on hold for some time. So member states decided to work together and to invest to make sure that we have a drone defense initiative, which hopefully will be up and running within less than a year. And this will provide extra security for the member states in the EU. And this will be on top what we are already doing with the defense initiative, focusing first of all, our eyes and capabilities on not only anti-drone systems, but as well air defense and of course the land defense, cybersecurity, all the issues where the EU or European Union as an organization can contribute in complementarity with NATO.
Mm-hmm. In other words, the EU would marshal the resources, help marshal the resources for this drone wall, and the NATO member states would operationalize it.
In general, yes. And how it works. It's important that we are actually speaking right now about almost $1 trillion in 3 to 5 years, where European Union money is the money which we have to spend in the coordinated manner to make sure that we don't build 27 drone systems.
That are not operable with each other.
Exactly.
Have the EU states determined that these drone incursions are all spawned by Russia in some form or fashion?
Well, I think that always the attribution is the question, and this question always will be left for the member state, which actually experienced the situation. But well, it will be really difficult to guess, to have a second guess geographically where it comes from.
Let's talk about the sanctions that President Trump imposed on Russia. Did the EU have any input into that process?
Well, we had several conversations, and we have a continuous coordination with our American colleagues. First of all, of course, in Treasury, but as well in State Department. And I think the sanctions on Rosneft and Lukoil is very, 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 very inconsequential.
Is it safe to say that the EU view of the sanctions that President Trump imposed on Russia was that it was a positive step but didn't go far enough?
Well, it's always the question about implementation. I worked with the sanctions for more than 3 years before coming here, and all the sanction success or sanction efficiency depends on implementation.
I think we can agree that implementation matters always when there's a new policy that is set.
That's true.
My question really is, for so long we saw President Trump making statements to the effect that he expected greater cooperation from President Putin, and for so long he wasn't getting it. And we saw increasing displays of frustration by President Trump, but not with any attendant action. Now he has taken this action, and I wonder what you think this action tells us about President Trump's determination, or the state of it, or the extent of it, to bring Vladimir Putin to heel.
Mr. Putin can actually stop this war today or tomorrow. He just stopped bombing Ukraine hospitals, residential areas.
My question is, this action taken by President Trump, does the EU view it as significant?
Of course.
In other words, for so long you were waiting for some sign that President Trump was earnest when he was saying he intended to do something about Vladimir Putin if Mr. Putin wasn't cooperating. Now he's done something. What is the EU's view of that measure? Was it enough?
Well, sky's the limit. In sanctions or the making sure that that aggressors stop, sky is the limit until he's not at the table and the ceasefire is not present. It always will be the next step.
Stateside tech giants, including Apple, but not limited to Apple, feel as though the Digital Markets Act is essentially targeting American firms and shaking them down to get them to provide their intellectual property to European startups and even to their own competitors here. What do you say to all of that?
When you send your kids to their friends, probably they are following the rules of the house where they are spending time or having a pajama night. So the same as in Europe. If you are really doing business in Europe, you're probably following the rules in Europe. And the idea of Digital Market Act is actually to ensure competition. Look, there are some of the digital companies, or most of the digital companies, from 25 to 40% of their turnover is generated in the EU market. So probably it's not too bad.
Thank you very much, Ambassador.